very good morning, dear students, and welcome to today's session. In this particular class, we are going to discuss the poem Abu Ben Adhem by Leigh Hunt. In the last class, I told you about the poet in brief, and we also did a short introduction to the poem. In this particular class, we are going to discuss the poem line by line. And I hope you all remember the message that the poem tries to convey to its readers. The message is very plain and simple, and the poet through this particular poem tries to tell the readers that we should love our fellow human beings. When we can't express our solidarity, compassion, and love for our fellow human beings, then how can we love God, whom we can't even see? I hope things will become gradually clear to you when we discuss the poem line by line. Abu Ben Adhem by Leigh Hunt. Stanza 1. Abu Ben Adhem, may his tribe increase, awoke one night from a deep dream of peace, and saw, within the moonlit in his room, making it rich and like a lily in bloom, an angel writing in a book of gold, exceeding peace, had made Ben Adhem bold, and to the presence in the room he said, "What writest thou?" The vision raised its head, and with a look made of all sweet accord, answered, "The name of those who love the Lord." "And is mine one?" said Abu. "Nay, not so," replied the angel. Abu spoke more low, but cheerly still, and said, "I pray thee, then write me as one that loves his fellow men." Now, this is what the first stanza of the poem is. Now, let us try to understand this particular stanza line by line. But before we go on to the explanation of stanza 1, we need to understand that what is the literary device that is used by the poet in this particular poem. You must be remembering that in the introduction to the poem, I had told you that this poem, Abu Ben Adhem, is a parable in verse. In fact, the poem gives us the message that God loves those who love their fellow men. In fact, the poet Leigh Hunt wrote this poem in couplet form. Let us try to understand what do we mean by couplet form. A couplet is a literary device which can be defined as having two successive rhyming lines in a verse. It is marked by a usual rhythm and rhyme scheme. If a couplet has the ability to stand apart from the rest of the poem, that is, the couplet makes a meaning of its own, it is independent and not dependent on any other part of the poem, then it is called a closed couplet. A couplet which cannot convey a proper meaning alone is called an open couplet. And the poem Abu Ben Adhem consists of many sets of open couplets. Like, for example, you will see, "and saw, within the moonlight in his room, making it rich and like a lily bloom." If you see, the words room and bloom, they rhyme with each other. So this is an example of a rhyming couplet, and you will find that this particular poem consists of many sets of rhyming couplets, but these two lines they do not make a clear sense of its own. They are not independent. Therefore, they are called open couplet. So the poem contains many such sets of open couplets. Now let us try to understand the poem line by line. It is said, Abu Ben Adam, may his tribe increase. Now the poem opens with the name of the protagonist, that is Abu Ben Adam, and a blessing upon him, may his tribe increase. This is a blessing upon Abu Ben Adam. The poet makes use of parenthesis in the expression, may his tribe increase. Now what do we mean by parenthesis? Parenthesis refers to a word or phrase inserted as an explanation or afterthought into a passage which is grammatically complete without it. In writing, usually marked off by brackets, dashes, or commas. Now you see, there Abu Ben Adam, this is the name of the protagonist of the poem, and this is grammatically correct, complete. But then this particular expression, phrase, is inserted as an afterthought into this line. Okay. And this is marked off by brackets. So this is an example of parenthesis. Now the use of the parenthesis in the expression, may his tribe increase, indicates that this portion is not directly linked to the poem itself. Yet this is a gesture by the poet to declare that here is a man worth remembering for generations to come. In other words, the poet wishes that may Abu Ben Adam's tribe increase, or may there be more people like him in this world, because he loved his fellow human beings. And it is people like Abu Ben Adam who has compassion, feeling, and love for their fellow human beings. They are the ones who make this world even a better place to live in. Now Leigh Hunt's poem Abu Ben Adam is a story of Ibrahim ibn Adam. Okay. Now we are speaking about Abu Ben Adam. Now who is this protagonist? So this particular poem is a story of Ibrahim ibn Adam, who was also called Ibrahim Balkhi. And he is one of the most prominent of the early ascetic Sufi saints. And the story of his conversion is one of the most celebrated stories in Sufi legend, as that of a prince renouncing his throne and choosing asceticism. Now what do we mean by asceticism? The asceticism means the practice of living a simple life without enjoying the physical pleasures of this world, and often it is done for religious reasons. So this reminds us of Gautam Buddha as well, Prince Siddhartha. Okay. He renounced his kingdom, his worldly life, and started leading a simple life without those physical pleasures of the world. Same way, the story of the conversion of Ibrahim Balkhi or Ibrahim ibn Adam is also one of the most celebrated stories in Sufi legend, and it tells us about Ibrahim Balkhi, who renounces his throne and chooses asceticism, or chooses a simple life without any worldly pleasures. And the Sufi tradition ascribes to Ibrahim countless acts of righteousness and his humble lifestyle, which contrasted sharply with his early life as the king of Balkhi. and he emphasized the importance of silence and meditation for asceticism. So when we refer to Abu Ben Adam, we are actually talking about Ibrahim ibn Adam or Ibrahim Balkhi. Now let us move to the next line. Awoke one night from a deep dream of peace, and saw within the moonlight in his room, making it rich and like a lily in bloom, an angel writing in a book of gold. Now these lines are full of visual imagery and metaphors. They describe an awakening, as it is said that Abu Ben Adam woke up one night from a peaceful sleep. A deep dream of peace signifies that he woke up from a deep sleep or a peaceful dream. It may also refer to a meditative, restful state that Abu Ben Adam was in when the angel visited him. Abu awakens to the presence of the angel, which has already effected a transformation of the room. The moment the angel entered into the room, there was a transformation in the room, because the angel gilded the room with the bright moonlight and made the room look like a lily in bloom. And when Abu woke up, he saw that there was bright moonlight in his room, and the angel who was standing right before his eyes, he was writing something in a golden book. Now here the poet has made use of simile in the line like a lily in bloom, and this simile conveys the potential of this encounter to bloom into something pure and noble. So this encounter was not an ordinary encounter between two people. It was an encounter of the messenger of God with Abu Ben Adam. And this meeting was obviously going to bloom into something pure and noble. And that is indicated by the line like a lily in bloom. And the fabled book, because book of gold, this type of book you can find only in fables or in parables. So this fabled book of gold symbolizes its richness and the great value placed on its contents. It was not an ordinary book. It was the book of gold. So therefore that book of gold symbolizes its richness and the great value placed on the contents of that book. It should also be noted here that the poet has used supernatural elements in this poem. Now, what are supernatural elements? Those elements which are beyond our comprehension or which cannot be explained by giving logical reasons or by giving scientific facts. Now, in this poem, the poet has made use of phrases like a deep dream of peace, book of gold, and the presence of the vision in the room, great awakening light, etc., and it adds to the supernatural quality of the poem. Waking up in the middle of the night, Abu saw that the moonlight brightened his room and the angel was writing something in a golden book. The angel had a face full of kindness, and the angel comes again the next night when a great awakening light. All these things are indeed very magical and unbelievable. There is also a certain level of ambiguity in the poem, because as a reader it is difficult for us to make out whether Abu actually encountered the angel or the entire episode described in the poem was a dream of Abu Ben Adhem. So we cannot make certain that whether Abu Ben Adhem had actually encountered the angel in his room or it was a dream of Abu Ben Adhem. So this lends an air of ambiguity to the poem. Thus, this particular episode that is described in the poem is seen beyond earthly life, and it can be seen as one belonging to the realm of the supernatural. And then exceeding peace had made Ben Adhem bold, and to the presence in the room he said, "What writest thou?" The vision raised its head, and with a book made of all sweet accord, answered, "The names of those who love the Lord." So here we get to know that it is not every day that one has a divine visitor in his room, and that divine visitor calmly writes away something in the golden book. Now imagine if such a thing happens in somebody's life, how astonished that man would be. So when Abu Ben Adhem saw that divine visitor in his room, when he saw that he was writing something in the golden book, he was also greatly astonished. And moreover, the peaceful atmosphere that was created in his room, it had emboldened him. It had filled him with courage so that he could satisfy his curiosity. And with much courage, he asked the angel, "What writest thou?" Now this phrase, "What writest thou?" this particular question is an old-fashioned way of asking, "What are you writing?" Now when Abu raised this question out of curiosity to the angel replied in a tone of sweet accord. What do we mean by a tone of sweet accord? The angel replied in a voice full of patience and kindness. And the angel told Abu Ben Adhem that it was writing the names of those people who have been honored by heaven for their love of God. He was writing the names of those people who love the Lord. Another feature to be considered here is that the poet refers to the angel as a presence and as a vision. So presence and vision are used to refer to the angel in this particular lines. And the term vision, though literally it refers to the angel, it may also refer to Abu Ben Adhem's supernatural vision. That is, he did not meet with the angel in particular, he had the vision of an angel. Okay, that also could be referred through the word vision. "And is mine one?" said Abu. "Nay, not so," replied the angel. Abu spoke more low but cheerily still, and said, "I pray thee then, write me as one that loves his fellow men." So when Abu came to know that the angel was writing the names of all those people who loved the Lord, he became curious and asked if his love for God has been worthy enough to earn him a place in the angel's heavenly book. The angel's negative answer comes in a kind but matter-of-fact way. But Abu Ben Adhem still perseveres and humbly but cheerfully makes his iconic request to the angel. What was his iconic request? To write his name as the one who loves his fellow men. Now here we need to reflect, we need to contemplate on the fact that Abu Ben Adhem is not sure about his love for God, but he is very confident that he has love for mankind, that is his fellow human beings. So therefore, when the angel told Abu Ben Adam that his name is not in the list of those people who love the Lord, Abu Ben Adam did not complain, did not ask for any type of clarification from the angel. Why? Because he himself was doubtful whether his love is worthy enough to earn him a place in that heavenly book. But he was very confident that he loves his fellow men. And that is the reason why he confidently tells the angel that his name should be written as one that loves his fellow men. And these words of Abu Ben Adam hold the poem's essence and makes this poem immortal, because this is the message that the poet wants to convey in this particular poem. And then we move to the next stanza, stanza 2, which consists of only 4 lines or 2 open couplets. The angel wrote and vanished. The next night it came again with a great awakening light and showed the names whom love of God had blessed. And lo, Ben Adam's name led all the rest. Now these 4 lines, or the last 4 lines of the poem, can be seen as the climax of the poem. Now what do we mean by climax? Climax is a point where the text leads up to an event, phrase, phase, mood or feeling of great importance. Here we get to know that on the request of Abu Ben Adam, the angel wrote his name in the list of all those people who love his fellow men, and then he vanished. To everybody's surprise and astonishment, the angel appears again the next night with a new list of names of people who have been blessed by God, who were very close to God, whom God loved. The word lo, which is used to call attention of somebody, or which is used to show wonder or surprise, adds to the climax of the poem. It is in this stanza of the poem that the poet speaks of a second awakening. So the angel came with a great awakening. Here we see a great awakening light, so bright, that light is so bright that it roses Abu Ben Adam awake. Or taken on a metaphorical level, this speaks of enlightenment. This great awakening light signifies that Abu Ben Adam had achieved enlightenment. Now you can contrast this awakening light with the earlier awakening scenario in the first stanza. The earlier awakening scenario was inherently more gentle and subtle. And our heavenly messenger apparently comes with some important news this time in the last stanza. Now this awakening of the protagonist may also refer to the spiritual awakening of Abu Ben Adam, as he realized the futility of worldly pleasures and decided to lead a simple life of asceticism. And then the last 2 lines, and showed the names whom love of God had blessed, and lo, Ben Adam's name led all the rest. This is the moment of truth, the point where most readers either smile or scoff. Whatever is the reaction of readers, this is where the poem highlights the priorities of God. It highlights that what exactly God wants from us. The angel now reveals the names of those people whom God has blessed. To Abu Ben Adham's astonishment, it is his name that leads everyone else's. So his love for mankind proved to be of much greater value than the other people's love of God. Thus, through this poem, the poet brings charm and idealism to his interpretation of religion that finds more virtue in acts of compassion rather than just faith. This is what makes this poem memorable. Thank you for watching and stay blessed.